up, you guys? Welcome to the live stream. If you haven't noticed, I do a series that are kind of like video podcasts where I get to interview and hang out with some amazing artists. We've had so many good ones: Susan Tedeschi, Marcus King, the list goes on and on, really. But I'm trying something new where I'm gonna actually premiere these as a live stream first. So you're gonna see it in a vertical view, and that's fine because the actual long form regular YouTube video is still gonna come out the next day. But I wanna try it so I can interact with you guys live while it's airing. So hope you enjoy it, and if you wanna watch, you know, the full YouTube long form, it'll come out the next day. All right, as we start the live stream and people are just kind of strolling in, I'm gonna give you a little taste of one of my last live streams. So here it is.
LA born. We're moving space with minimum waste and maximum joy. City lights and business nights. If you require street card is for other heights. No place for beginners, but somewhere to start. Sentiment is left to child. No place to begin, but somewhere to start. No need to ask, he's a smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Coast to coast, LA to Chicago, Western Maine. Across the north and south to Chicago, love for sale.
On a neon.
Another Delta dawn brings hope worth waiting on. and soul.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, once again hanging out in the studio, and I'm really excited to have the awesome musician, guitar player, songwriter, and really cool guy, Mr. John Oates. Dude, thank you so much for coming.
Oh man, thanks for having me, Marty. It's great. I appreciate being on, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I mean, your music is a huge soundtrack to my life.
Well, thanks. I'm glad I could be the old seer here.
Yeah,
the old
I mean,
sage.
Yeah, you are, man. You are, and
I don't feel like a sage.
You look fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's a little hair dye, a lot of sit-ups.
Yeah, you have a regimen, a daily
for hair dye?
No.
Yeah, I'm really, well, especially I lived in Colorado for 30 years, and I'm still into biking, hiking. I used to downhill ski. I don't do that anymore. I cross-country ski. So yeah, I've always been active. I've always been outdoorsy, and yeah, I still do it.
Nice. What about the term yacht rock, though?
I don't care for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I've never been on a yacht. I don't wear one of those stupid hats. Those captain hats, those Captain Tennille hats.
Are you familiar, though, with that, like, weird old, those sketches where they played you guys?
Yes, and I'm also familiar with the group Yacht Rock, who I thought, to be honest with you, I thought was kind of a joke parody thing.
Yeah.
Until I actually played with them.
Yeah.
And I had this really weird experience.
Okay.
Because they asked me if I'd play a song with them. And I said, okay. I said, and they said, what about She's Gone? I said, sounds great. What I didn't realize, this is kind of interesting. What I didn't realize is that the evolution of that song's live arrangement over the years with Daryl, from 50 years basically, has changed so much from the original recording.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I was referencing in my head, what I do basically.
Oh, like the more
what I have been doing, right?
Yeah.
And I got on stage, and the moment they counted it off, I realized they had copied the record perfectly.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Well, this is a slightly different song than I recall. So I give them a lot of props because they're really faithful to that. They're really honoring, in a sense, those records,
right.
Which is great. And they make a real effort to make sure they've got it down, right?
Yeah.
So I was struggling my way through the old arrangement of She's Gone, kind of remembering it as we went.
I mean, in some ways,
which was cool.
It's kind of be a thrill.
No, it was cool. It was actually cool. Yeah.
Like just that you've impacted music.
Well, that song has stood the test of time. That song is evergreen, and it's really.
You got to be proud of all.
Oh yeah,
legacy.
very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I mean, without that musical legacy, I wouldn't be able to do the things I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So I have a good, very good, perspective and respect for what I've done and what I did with Daryl and the music we made together. And that music will last, will last forever, I think.
I think so.
So that's the good part. And now the better part for me right now is that I can use that to go forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd say another huge moment in pop culture is MTV.
Yeah.
And you guys were a huge part of that. You kind of almost had like a second wave of your career, right?
Yeah.
With that?
Well, the 70s were all about figuring it out. That's why I have a soft spot in my heart for the 70s, because everything was new. Every city we went to, every place we played, every experience, all the mistakes, it was part of growing up and part of evolving as a musician. The whole decade of the 70s, that experience led to being able to crush it in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like I said earlier, with the band, and then MTV hit, which took the PR exposure level to a whole different thing. We were the first MTV guest VJs that we went on there, and I think our Private Eyes video was one of the first videos that was ever shown on MTV, right in the very, very beginning.
Recently, I taught Private Eyes, which all those songs are just so awesome. I still remember being in my mom's car when I was a kid, and we were singing, and this is a little more later cut, METHOBOFLOVE.
Yeah.
And then I also remember you had like G.E. Smith with you.
Yeah, G.E. was in the 80s band. G.E., T-Bone Wolk, the bass player, one of the greatest musicians I've ever met.
These are the legendary SNL
Well, they were SNL
Well, I mean,
after they stopped touring with me and Daryl.
Right, but
Yeah, this was our '80s band that was played on all the records and we toured with from basically 1981 straight up until we kind of stopped in '86. Charlie DeShan on saxophone, Mickey Curry on drums, who later went on to play with Bryan Adams, among other people. Yeah, it was an amazing band, and that band was really. That was the first time that Daryl and I we had a band that we felt comfortable enough to go into the studio, record with, and then go right back on the road. Prior to that, we were always using studio musicians. And we always felt there was always a kind of a disconnect between the records we made and our live shows. And people would always say, well, you sound really good live, you know. I said, well, we need to capture that, you know. And so we finally did it in the 80s, and that's probably a major reason why we were so successful.
And you were heavily influenced by like the Temptations, right? And like all the old harmony groups, the vocal groups.
Sure, the early R&B, the Motown, Philly, Chicago, Stax Volt. Me in particular, Stax Volt. I was a huge Steve Cropper fan, and I loved all the Sam and Dave, all the stuff that came out of there. But we just and Daryl was heavily influenced by a cappella and church music. And we kind of pooled and then I was a folk guitarist, and before I met him, and so we kind of pooled all these individual influences, created something new, and then all those pure individual influences kind of fell by the wayside.
When did you start playing music?
I started guitar at 6, and I started singing even before that.
Is the Beatles part of the?
Nope.
No.
I started. Well, I'm old enough to actually remember music before rock and roll, because my parents were from the World War II generation. So they listened to big band, swing. So the music I heard as a child was that, big band music. And I loved it. My dad and mom used to dance to, Glenn Miller and, all that stuff, Duke Ellington. That's what I remember. And I was old enough, I was still very young, but in the early 50s when rock and roll kind of hit, I actually realized something new had happened, which was, I think, kind of a unique perspective, because I feel like, from the time I was a young child, I grew up and I evolved with rock and roll because I was there at the beginning. It was Chuck Berry and Fats Domino and Little Richard and Elvis. And so, it was like, then as time went on, I just began to absorb these rootsy influences. By the time the Beatles hit, I was already referencing the same stuff that they were listening to.
Gotcha.
Same with the Stones. The Stones, all credit where credit is due. They reintroduced the roots of American blues back to an American, teenage audience, which is great. And still to this day, it's so amazing that they have always honored that. You know what I mean? They've always put a lot, back in the day, they would always put Muddy Waters on as an opening act and all that kind of stuff. So, but I was listening to the originators, and same with the folk music. I was turned on to folk music during the folk music revival in the early 60s. And I heard a lot of that.
So I think it's just because you look so good that I don't think of you as being around that long.
Well, gee, Marty, you want to have dinner or anything like that?
I would, actually.
So I have these big band sensibility in a lot of my chord changes. So I'll play. You want me to play a little bit of that?
That'd be great.
Ding dong, listen to the bells go ding dong. Don't you know why the bells are ringing? Don't you know why the birds keep on singing? Give you a big surprise. I'm gonna put you wise. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. Birds are singing for me and my gal. Everybody's been knowing to a wedding they're going, and for weeks they've been sewing every Susie and Sal. They're congregating for me and my gal. Parsons waiting for me and my gal. Gonna build a little home for 2 or 3 or 4
would like to talk about, your John Oates music.
Sure.
We've got a very specific rig that you set up.
Yeah, I brought this because I've been playing acoustic shows, and I've been doing a show called An Evening of Songs and Stories, and I have an acoustic quartet, amazing guys with a cello, a percussionist, and another guy who plays electric guitar and pedal steel. But we set up in a very simple way. We don't, I use a little Fishman acoustic amp, and I'm really almost using it as a monitor because I'm walking into venues where I don't necessarily know the venue. So I always know I can hear what I want to hear right here. And I take it direct out of the back. I usually take two. One is a dry mix, and one is a mix from a little bit of reverb and whatever I'm using on this. And that way I know what I'm sending to the front of the house is exactly what I'm getting and what I want. So that way I can trust a house mixer who I don't know. So I have this really simple acoustic fly rig by Tech 21, which is, not the greatest pedal board in the world, but then again, I don't really need a great pedal board. I just need a little delay and occasionally some EQ. But what my real secret is this infinite loop TC Electronics. It's a looper, but I don't use it as a looper. I use it as a sustainer. So basically I got bored with just the percussiveness of the acoustic guitar. I felt like, God, if I had a keyboard, but I'm too cheap to pay for one, so what should I do?
So like a sustain
So I go
pedal
like
on a
this.
chord?
So I use it a lot.
I just played with John Oates, everyone.
So it's really cool because you can do a lot with it, and it's cool. Like for instance, if I rake way back by the bridge, that it'll sustain that while I play. So I can go like this. Then I can go. Or conversely, I can do it the other way
That was
around.
almost like a bagpipe or something.
It's really cool, and I've gotten to I use it a lot. So
and the more you experiment, the more you start to pick out little things that you can do again and get a little repertoire. Well, I really dig and respect that. I can tell that you're a true musician because, and also your solo stuff is so different than the old group, whatever they were called. I can't remember.
Yeah, those guys.
Clearly, you're doing it for the love of music.
I am. I've been a musician my whole life. I've never done anything else. It's kind of how I look at myself. I don't really think of myself any other way.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been one of those things where I really, for me, one of the greatest things I ever did was move to Nashville, because I realized early on, many years ago, how high the bar was set in terms of musicianship, instrumentalists. I really felt like it really, it made me woodshed.
Yeah,
it made me go back and really say, well, I've been kind of coasting on playing songs that I played for years and years, knowing the arrangements backward and forward, playing my part in an ensemble, which, is important because you fall into a role, and at least you should fall into a role in an ensemble where you have something to do that makes the whole better than the individual.
Yeah.
But I needed to go beyond that. And so Nashville gave me that opportunity to woodshed and realize that, hey, I'm going to go up on stage now with an acoustic guitar, and I'm going to hold the whole thing down. I have a lot of respect for, especially people like Tommy Emmanuel. He goes out there and just play. Well, first of all, he's one of my favorite acoustic guitar players, without a doubt. But what he does, he's entertaining. He's flashy. He's, he can do everything.
He takes what he does seriously, but doesn't take himself seriously.
But he's an entertainer. He entertains people.
And he does
that's part of it.
The drum
Well,
thing.
he used to be a drummer. He started as a drummer. So his right hand and his groove is ridiculous.
It is.
All that stuff is really kind of built up to where I am right now, which is taking these older influences, especially my old folky influences, also the early R&B influences, and blending it together and creating a kind of a new identity for myself as a musician.
Reunion.
Yeah,
Is that you having a reunion with your roots?
I wrote that song. Well, it really, a lot of people would probably assume that it had to do with reuniting with Daryl, but it doesn't at all. Maybe subliminally, of course. But I actually wrote that song about 5 or 6 blocks from here with AJ Croce at his house.
Oh yeah. He used to be in San Diego.
Yeah, he's right down the road here, and in East Nashville. I came up with the idea for it. It had to do with my dad. My dad's 101, and
Wow, he's still around.
he's still here. I know. And,
Amazing. Was he in World War II?
Yes, he was. Yeah,
Wow.
he's one of the last ones. And but it was about a year ago, maybe not quite, and he was doing really poorly, and he said he was going to reunite with Mom, who had passed away years before. So it really hit me, and I thought about the idea of reuniting, reunion, and what it really means, you know. And at the time, going through some of the personal things that I was going through, I realized that basically I had an opportunity to reunite with myself, to rediscover who I really was outside of, you know, the work I did with Hall Oates and all these things, and have a kind of a purer version of myself. You can look to the stars for an answer when it's right at your door. You can wait all your life for a chance. There can be something more. You find your cause when you said it. Ain't it clear when you get it? The lights at the party burn bright. I'm leaving early tonight. I'm making ready for mine. I'm making ready for mine. I'm making ready for my reunion. I'm making ready for my reunion.
Tell me about the guitar.
Yeah, this is a 00015M Martin mahogany, all mahogany, and I have a custom guitar. I brought it with me, which I use in acoustic settings. But when I'm doing something like this, what I really didn't need a great sounding acoustic natural guitar. I needed something that wouldn't feedback, so I use a feedback buster. And the small body of the 000 size, and the mahogany, the thumpiness of the mahogany, the natural mahogany sound, it doesn't lend itself to a lot of overtones, which is great because I want all the overtones to come out of here and here. You know, anything I'm using, that's what I want. Plus, I didn't want to take my really expensive guitars on the road, especially with flying and all this possibilities of damage. So I found this guitar, and I love this guitar. It's got a 11/16 nut, because I play a lot of chords, and I'm all over the place like this. So I really wanted a slimmer neck. So this really ticks the boxes. You know, it's, as I said, it's one of the most inexpensive full-size Martins you can buy, and it's a great guitar. I take it on the road, and God forbid something were to happen, I can get another one.
Right.
So that's why my only criticism is the position markers on the top of the fretboard are too small. So I use my wife's white fingernail polish, and I made them big so I can see them.
Now it's custom.
Oh, it's custom, baby. But it's a wonderful guitar.
All right, what do we have here?
So what we have here is, first of all, I love the small body guitars because I hate to have my arm up in the air like on a dreadnought.
Yeah.
This is basically a 00 size, but it's technically, a 0018 would be a spruce top with mahogany back and sides. This is a spruce top with rosewood back and sides. So technically it's a 0028, which doesn't exist.
Okay.
And I asked them to make this for me. They did a custom neck profile, which here again is narrow, which I like. Nice.
Because you're a thumber?
Yes, nice big position markers. The other thing too, it's a very subtle thing too, because I'm using my thumb all the way up the neck, the taper would normally get a little wider as it reached the body, but I had them make the taper much more subtle as it gets up to the body, so I can continue to use my thumb all the way up the neck. The other thing that's unique about this, I had to make it a ½ an inch thicker in the body. So even though it's a small body guitar, it has a little bit more oomph, It's a really pretty guitar. And They put my logo in it.
I was just going to say, let's see that.
And
what's the logo symbolize?
well, I
Where
did
does
an
that come from?
album years ago. I did an album called Good Road to Follow, and I came upon these back in the Depression, when the hobos were riding the rails through the country trying to, get work here and there. They would have these signals that they would draw in the dirt or draw on a piece of cardboard to give the other hobos, like, there's a mean dog here, there's a cop here, you can get
Like
food
warning
here.
signs.
Yeah, and this is
Or more just symbols.
this was based on a compass, and the arrow would show you the right way to go, or the right train line to take. So I adopted it. So it's basically a hobo sign from the 30s. But it's a beautiful guitar. I love it, and I play it. In fact, I just played it on a session the other day, and it's just, it's really even. And yeah.
Wow,
There you go.
That's awesome. All right, I got John Oates here, and I ask people, is there a song you wish you had written?
There's a lot, but I was a huge Curtis Mayfield fan.
Oh, okay.
And one of the reasons that he attracted, plus his music was great, but with Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions, the first time I saw him, he played guitar and sang. Seems like totally normal in today's world, right?
Right.
But back in the 60s, R&B singers didn't play their instrument and sing, except for people like Ray Charles played piano or whatever. It was mostly a singer with a background group and an orchestra or whatever, but he played this cool Fender Jaguar.
It sounds like, people talk about how he showed Hendrix a lot of,
Well, Hendrix was in his band.
like, that kind of,
Yeah, Hendrix played in his backup band.
like when you think of Bold as Love and Little Wing, and
Absolutely.
those songs are actually Curtis Mayfield
Oh,
songs.
yeah. A lot of those little Curtis Mayfield trills,
Right, or like,
all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, you're sure.
yeah. So which Curtis Mayfield tune?
I always love Gypsy Woman. In fact, sometimes I play it in my live show. Super easy, A minor.
Okay,
Does a little change here and there.
got it. I'll follow you.
Okay, here we go. Alone there to a caravan, round a campfire light. Lovely woman in motion. There you go. Hair as dark as the night. Her eyes were like that of a cat dog. They hypnotize me with love. G. She's a gypsy woman. G. She was a gypsy woman. She danced around and around.
What's the first thing you learned on guitar? Obviously, it's not a Beatles song. I learned that.
First thing I learned,
Like, because you were really little, and you said, I want a guitar.
Yeah.
It must have been like, is that because of Elvis?
it was
or-
probably an Elvis song. More than like it was either "Wake Up Little Susie" by the Everly Brothers, Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good, or an Elvis song.
Okay, well, I'll just do this for you.
Okay.
All right, once again, I want to thank John Oates for hanging out, playing music, telling some awesome stories. It's really exciting and a thrill to have him here. I appreciate you spending the time, and hopefully we'll run into each other again in Nashville. Oh, actually, we are running into each other tonight.
I think in a few hours. Right?
Yeah, we're going to be
We're playing
both,
together.
Yeah,
right?
we're both playing with Rome.
Yeah.
I only thought of that as I was saying it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not,
Oh, it's going to be a real Nashville evening.
Yes. Well, once again, thank you so much. Also, click the link down in the description below to check out, everything he's done, but his new album, Reunion. So go check out Reunion and, follow John Oates.
John Oates Official.
Yeah.
Instagram.
And he's officially here right now.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We'll see you guys later.
You can look to the stars for an answer when it's right at your door. You can wait all your life for a chance. There can be something more. You find your cause when you said it Ain't it clear when you get it? The lights at the party burn bright. I'm leaving early tonight. I'm making ready for my. I'm making ready for my. I'm making ready for my reunion. I'm making ready for my reunion.
All right, guys, there was another one to check off the list. Hope you enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun doing that session. So until next time, we'll see you again.